Hello and welcome to the Toledo According to podcast. I'm Riley Runnells, assignment editor of the Toledo City paper, and I will be interviewing some of Toledo's most influential and impactful residents as they walk us through what Toledo means to them. Every episode will feature a new guest talking about their favorite Toledo attractions, businesses, restaurants, and experiences, with the hope of our audience learning more about the guest and finding more gems of Toledo. All right, we are here with Kathryn Tucker. It's so nice to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited to hear about what makes Toledo unique to you, but first, give the listeners a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure. So my name is Kathryn Tucker. I've been in Toledo since I was 18. I won't give too much detail because then that will reveal my age. But it's been a while. Just a little bit about me. So I think most importantly, I am married and a mother of 4 children, ages 13 to 2. And then, so from a career perspective, I started my first career in banking, about 15, 16 years ago. And then currently I work as, this is actually a new position, I work as the Chief Experience Officer for Fremont Federal Credit Union, who, by the way, has expanded its membership into Lucas County in the Toledo area. So outside of my career, I am a very proud board president of the Women of Toledo organization, and we engage and empower women of all different ages. My daughter just finished their STEAM camp. It's teaching the young girls ages 12 to 18 that as women, we have to build our seat at the table. So they literally have taught them how to build chairs. So very proud board member of Women of Toledo. And I am actually, we're talking all this stuff, Toledo. I'm actually in December graduating from the University of Toledo College of Law. So
wow, congratulations.
Very busy. And then another thing is my husband's a retired law enforcement officer, and he's been making wine for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So we started a wine company about a year ago, and we're still in the process going and cutting through the red tape, getting our licenses. But we plan to hopefully open sometime next year, and we have an entire wine collection that's actually called Toledo's Share. And it's really just about branding Toledo, telling Toledo's story, because my husband and I are very proud Toledoans, and the city has given a lot to us.
Oh, that's incredible. Man, how do you have time to sleep?
I didn't get that much sleep last night. But usually my husband and I, we work as a team. We're a really good duo. And with family and support, we all come together, and somehow the wildness happens. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's always important to have a support system, and especially too, we at Adams Street Publishing so appreciate your work with Women of Toledo. We're huge supporters of it ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, we're a predominantly women-based staff, and so for us, it's nice to see all the things you're doing to encourage the next generation and people who are currently working in Toledo. It's wonderful.
Thank you for your support.
So, we want to dive into what makes Toledo unique for you. Obviously, you've been here for a while. You have kids who you raise here. So let's talk about all of your Toledo favorites. Yes. First off, the place that you are the most proud of in Toledo.
So it has to be Toll House. The Toll, a lot of people don't know the Toll in Toll House, which is a private social club downtown Toledo, stands for Toledo. Mm-hmm. So it is my favorite place. Will and Angela Lucas, who are good friends of ours, they have brought something to this city that we haven't seen, not in a long time. I love the camaraderie that's there. They're a young couple, raising a family, owning a business. But if you go to Toll House, they've got everything you could possibly think of. You could literally be there all day. So you can have coffee and breakfast there. Mm-hmm. You can go to a jazz show there. You can smoke cigars in the back. And what I hear most about Toll House, which I love, is it's an amazing opportunity to connect people. Yeah. And to network.
It is. It's truly, I talk to a lot of young people who have been thinking about getting memberships there. And it's interesting because the big draw is networking and meeting all of these people that you might not have another circle to interact with them in. And so it's a great resource as well as just being fun to hang out.
Yeah, and I think I definitely recommend it. The Earth Coffee, it's open to the public. Mm-hmm. But I have seen so many people, connect, to your point, with the people that they've always wanted to. You walk in there and you see
Right.
the people that you're watching and admiring on social media or going to their events. Even just getting the opportunity to connect with Will and Angela, they're
Yeah.
always there. It is an amazing space, and they're constantly adapting it. The other thing I love about Toll House is they are huge in supporting local.
Yes.
There's several business owners that we know and love in Toledo that, Will and Angela are intentional about bringing their product into a platform at their really great establishment.
Right. Yeah, you are so correct there. And I feel like that's a theme among a lot of different Toledo places and businesses is supporting one another, which is so nice to see. And speaking of Toledo businesses, let's go on to your restaurant choice. So, what is the best meal you've ever had in Toledo and where did you have it?
So my husband and I are in love with Mancy's Steakhouse. Is
So
a
true.
staple in Toledo. So the best meal I've ever had, they have this Delmonico aged ribeye.
Hmm.
And they have, like, I don't know if it's a 30 ounce or something. My husband and I always split it. But I we love going there. The food is excellent. They always cook the steak perfect. But it is also a vibe as well. Mancy's, I didn't know this. We had our waitress had mentioned this to us, and it actually wasn't our waitress, it was the general manager.
Hmm.
Her name is Marlene. They are training up the fourth generation
Yeah.
in Mancy's right now. So to me, it's the food is spectacular. The wine is excellent there.
Incredible.
The service is great. Marlene, the general manager, she's always coming out, making sure our food is perfect,
Hmm.
having conversation with us. And it's just that nostalgia of being a place in a business that has four different generations that is
Right.
passing the torch. That is hard to find nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
some of our younger generations, and I include myself in that, we're just like, yeah, no, we're not going to do like the family business. So I
Right.
really love the fact that, they're passing their legacy along, because we love Mancy's and so many other people do. So we definitely want to make sure that we're, um, consistent consumers at their business to keep them going.
Absolutely. I love the family values there too. It's incredible. And there are a lot of great food vendors that attend local events and are a part of different annual events. And so I'm wondering what your favorite annual event is in the area.
Okay, so I'm very, very biased, okay,
Okay.
because it's a Women of Toledo event.
Hmm.
Each year in March, we do our International Women's Day,
Hmm.
and it's phenomenal. And we do use local vendors like, Balance. We use the Lebanese pastry shop, So Sweet. And that's my favorite event because it's unique. And one of the things about Toledo that I love is our city is a hardworking city, but it's also a cultured city.
Hmm.
There's so much diversification around the people in our city. And so I love this event because we're able to bring that to life, showcase all of the different cultural aspects that we have, and really, just continuing to celebrate women. If you haven't noticed, that's a big theme of mine. Interestingly enough, I'm not the most social person, so I'm not out and about all the time. But for Women of Toledo, I am out everywhere.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's clear obviously by people recognizing you and recognizing the different women who are a part of the board and a part of the organization. It's wonderful. And we talk a lot about the businesses that Toledo does have, but I'm wondering if there's a business that Toledo doesn't have that you think it should.
That's a really good question. What I would like to see more of in Toledo are more places. I mean, we do have Toll House, but more places where people can gather and have a good time. Back when I was coming up, there were, like, and I'm not necessarily talking about nightclubs, but there were places that, couples could go out and have a good time, see a good jazz show. And we do have, ProMedica's done this with some of the concerts, where you can go and, take friends or do a date night. But I think it would be awesome to have more places where, couples can go, singles can go, more, kind of social, kind of nighttime events, because I
Right.
find myself I find us limited a little bit in where we go, and I'm happy to go to like the toll houses. I'm happy to go to some of the concerts, but I think that would be good. The other thing too is, there's a young lady, and I just used her yesterday. Her name is Sabria, and she has this business. It's called Destination Picnic, and she does these Bridgerton like high tea events.
Oh, wow.
And it's really unique. And I was speaking with her a couple days ago, and I asked her what gave her that idea, because we'd never seen anything like that. And she said she saw it on social media, but they have those type of pop-up things everywhere,
Right.
where we can go and socially gather amongst each other a lot more. So I would say that. And then the last thing is, one of the reasons my husband and I are starting our wine company is because there's actually not like a manufacturing wine company in downtown Toledo. And so we started the business just because my husband makes wine. It's really good. And we started giving it away. But people started coming to us and saying, we really want a place where we can go for a sophisticated experience,
Right.
a high-end wine tasting. If you go to Paris, if you go to Napa, you can go in and you can have these phenomenal experiences with sommeliers trying wine. And we don't really have that here, especially not in inner city Toledo. And so it's something that we wanted to bring. And I think more people, there's so many people who have ideas out there, and take those ideas and turn them into actual tangible things for the city.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right about that. We are home to so many incredible creatives that are absolutely revolutionizing the city. It's wonderful. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what is the street that you walk or drive on the most?
So, interestingly enough, probably Secor Road.
Okay.
I live on Meadowwood and Old Orchard, so we're always walking. We're always walking around. But Secor, there's so much, right? Because you have the University of it starts at like the University of Toledo. Doesn't start there, but main buildings, and then
Right.
you can go all the way down to Michigan on Secor. So that's a street I find myself on every single day where I live, but also the road takes you everywhere pretty much you need to go in the city, highway,
Right.
etc.
And, you talked a little bit about how you and your husband like to go out and enjoy the city. What is the best time that you've ever had in Toledo, and what were you doing?
You're asking me some good questions. This might sound a little crazy, but honestly, I think the best time that we've ever really had in Toledo is going to Mancy's.
Really?
Yeah, and him and I, we don't get out often, and him and I are, we have 4 children at home, and we are very busy, just like a lot of working parents. And so we've gone to some events, love going to Toll House with friends and family, but to me, every time we go to Mancy's, it's just very special. It's very intimate. The environment, the atmosphere is there. We're, slightly boring people. So that's one that I would say. And then really just some of the like Women of Toledo events where we're just bringing people together, having fun, playing music. They just had their Twilight Market on Saturday.
I love that. That's wonderful. And I think it's nice because it shows that even someplace that you wouldn't expect to be the best time or the craziest time in Toledo can provide such a wonderful experience. I think that's awesome.
I think that's the cool thing about Toledo is, for people, there are people who are going to be, your more social people who are going out, going to concerts. But I think the other thing about it is I do see Toledo as a great place to raise a family and a great place to be married. And so you can have these, really great events that you go to, but you can also just have an amazing time just connecting at a restaurant. You can tell I like spending time with my husband.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I love that so much. And I know you've been here for a while, but what is one thing that you've always meant to do in Toledo, but you have not yet done?
I wish this wasn't the case, but I want to go to the Toledo Symphony.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I see their shows, and because of my busy schedule, but there was a woman who came to one of our events for Asian and Pacific Islander event we did. Her name is Amy Chang, and she plays for the Toledo Symphony, and she's a cello player, and her performance was remarkable. I've always wanted to go, but she literally sounded like an entire symphony all in her own. I'm like, I didn't
Oh,
know a
wow.
cello could do that. And
Yeah.
so I really want to explore the music scene a little bit more. You know, our art museum is incredible. There's so many things that we have in Toledo that are just staples here. So I haven't really experienced the symphony. It's on my list of something to try and do through the summer.
For sure. For sure. I actually have not been to the symphony either, so I'm putting that on my list now too.
Yeah.
If there was anything that you could change about Toledo, what would you change?
Universal pre-K. So if I could change anything, I would. Our city is a gem, and I think that I think there's great opportunity for us to collaborate and work together more. You know, I spent time in the nonprofit sector. Clearly, I spent time in the banking sector. You know, my husband was in government, worked at the mayor's office for a period of time.
Mhm.
There is so much talent in Toledo. There are so many great ideas. And I think that I would like to see us as a city collaborate more,
Yeah.
bring more. And I think we already do a pretty good job of that. But I think there are pockets of areas where we can leverage collaborations and partnerships. We have epic things happening in Toledo.
Absolutely.
For instance, the building that our wineries in, it's not open yet. It won't be open till next year. But there's a gentleman in there who just is our co-tenant. His name is Ryan Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just on the Netflix series Blown Away,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and I were watching it, and I could not believe how incredible he was artistically with blowing glass. He is a celebrity sitting in the middle of downtown in our city, right? So we're always looking for ways like how can we collaborate with him? How can he's asking us how can he collaborate with us? And so
Right.
there's so much great talent and so many great things. And I think if the more we collaborate, the bigger things we can do. I mean, there's so many epic things that can happen in Toledo.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I mean, even from my perspective, I'm always looking for new stories for us to write about at the city paper, and hearing you talk about all these people. That's part of why I love doing this podcast is I learn about so many different things that I might not have known about before. It's just wonderful when you put creative and wonderful Toledo minds together,
It is.
and you can pretty much do anything.
I agree.
So this one is a little more of an abstract question,
Okay.
but if you knew you could get away with it, what would you do?
If I knew I could get away with it, what would I do? You have some really good questions.
I love this one because people take it in such different directions.
Yeah. If I knew, okay. This is going to go in a very odd direction, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
So at the University of Toledo, I had the opportunity to, I hope I don't regret saying this, I had the opportunity to go and observe the 9/11 trials that are still happening in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there was, it's highly secured.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go everywhere with an escort. If I could have done anything and got away with it, I would have loved to go into the places that they didn't allow us to go.
Oh, yeah.
And come back and write about it for the public. I believe in transparency. I love our country. But I also, believe in our First Amendment rights. And so if I could, I so wanted to, when I was there, I was like, man, it would be so great if I could speak to one of the detainees, or if I could, go into the judge's chambers and have a quick chat with him and, be able to write something about it in the public. And so human rights is important to me. And so that is what I would do. My husband will hear this and he'll be like, oh my goodness.
No, that's an incredible answer. That's a really awesome answer, because see, it's still, you talk a lot about your different pursuits, and through all of them you seem to be a servant leader, which is such an incredible quality, and you still wanted to do something that would help serve the community, which is so incredible. So that's a great answer.
Thank you.
I think people listening could take a note from that answer.
Okay.
So what do you find the best view in Toledo is?
So I've been in many buildings downtown. The Fifth Third building, it's completely glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in there for a meeting. I used to work at Fifth Third many years ago, so I've been in the building several times, but we were in a meeting, a woman named Sophia Fisher. She was working on some stuff with the women athletes at University of Toledo basketball, the head coach, and Rita Mansour, I believe is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She had office up there. And I mean, you could see the landscape of the city, and with the mural they've put, I don't know exactly what those particular things are called, but the huge mural.
Yeah.
I think it's like the biggest one of the biggest in the world or something like that. You can see it from there. So you can see the river, you can see the city. But man, that mural is stunning. I think it adds a different element. But you can get a panoramic view in that Fifth Third building.
Funny enough, we had Rita on the podcast as well, and we recorded in her office. So we had the view the whole time, you know. I mean, talk about inspiration for wanting to talk about your city. It was incredible.
That is awesome. Okay, that's funny.
I know, it's what a coincidence. See, small world. What is something that when you are away from Toledo, you can't wait to have when you get back?
Probably a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one, you know, I've traveled different places. There's seriously no place from home. I love taking walks in my neighborhood. I live in Old Orchard. And if you've ever walked the trees in the summertime. So I miss, when I'm away from Toledo, I really miss my neighborhood, being able to walk through the neighborhood, enjoy outside. Even in the winter, it's gorgeous. And I don't know that I will say I miss this when I'm away, but one of the things that I love here, I'm a foodie. I like to eat, but you cannot go any place else in the country or in the world and get a hot dog as good as, and I know it's not technically a hot dog, but the Tony Pacos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if I go out and I try different foods, I'm like, you know, this is something that Toledo has that the Hungarian sausage, I believe, that no one can match. But I just when I'm away from Toledo, this is really home for me. So much of my life has happened here. And I think it's the perfect mix of a big city and like a smaller city.
Yeah.
It's not too much. You know everyone, like degrees of separation are small.
Mm-hmm.
So I miss the community, the camaraderie, and I love taking walks in my neighborhood. I miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer. I love that. And tell me about what Toledo business you'll most likely be found at.
Toll House.
Yeah.
I'm there a lot.
Makes sense.
You can have meetings there. You can have events there. You can have coffee. They just opened a juice bar. The juice is excellent there. So if you're going to find me in Toledo, you'll find me there.
I'll have to stop by and try out the juice bar. That sounds incredible.
Bar is awesome.
If Toledo had a new motto, what would it be?
You know, when my husband and I were thinking about how we wanted to brand like our Toledo Share wine collection, we threw a lot of things out there. And he said something, and it's not our motto, but I thought it was interesting. Because I think right now they have our motto is like, you do better in Toledo. But he said something, like the taste of the Rust Belt. And I don't know that we would use that, but I use the word like Rust Belt because him and I were just talking about the grit that our city has.
Oh, yeah.
If I had to think of one word to describe us, and so something, and I told him, I'm like, well, I don't know that that's maybe the right thing for the wine, but there's something to that because what he grew up here. He was born and raised here, and there is just like a certain work ethic. There's a certain grind, we're a manufacturing community. We're a union city. And so I think if someone understands how we connect the Rust Belt to it,
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool motto for the city. When you come here, you know you got to have grit. You're gonna grind, but our community is tight, and I think that we all like, level up together.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer too. Look at you knocking these out of the park. Tell me the most underrated and the most overrated thing in Toledo.
So underrated. Hmm. So I would say, and I don't know if it's underrated or not, but our metro parks.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big nature person, okay? But
Me either. I feel that.
and because I'm not on the metro park scene, and I know we have our zoo, we have our art museum, but I don't think people realize how incredible our metro parks are, and we have a ton of them.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, as a woman raising children, having access to those metro parks, so I think that could be something. I don't know if it's underrated, but I don't know how well known it is in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the overrated thing in our city? Let me see. The winters.
The winters, for sure.
I think they're definitely overrated. I don't really enjoy them as much. But other than that, I can't really think of anything in Toledo that I think is overrated.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good answer, I think. And then, finally, we like to ask who the Toledoan is that you most admire.
Oh, that's a good question. Toledoan that I most admire. I'm gonna go with my initial gut feeling. There are a lot of people that are doing things in Toledo that I admire, but I'm going to say there's a woman named Robbie Tucker, and she's my mother-in-law. And she grew up in a time, as a woman and as woman of color, where she didn't have much choice on where she lived. And I think about where she lives, how my husband grew up, and she was a successful woman, college degree, very sharp. But I bring her up because, in a time where her community wasn't giving much to her, she was giving back, doing Block Watch. You know, she had, in the community where she grew up, there was, gang activity. The police were always around there, drug activity. And she always was advocating. She was creating community organizations to protect her community. I mean, she's done so much, and then for her to raise my husband, the values that she's instilled in him, and my husband has gone on to be a huge impact in our city, even serving in our mayor's office, over police and fire, trying to eliminate you know murders and gun violence in the city. So I have this blog series that I write about. It's called Boundless Leaders. And when I think about the one I just wrote about, talks about legacy. And that's why women are so important to me, because we birth children, but we birth ideas, we birth concepts,
Right.
we birth movements. And I feel like my mother-in-law, who's actually at my house right now watching the kids, she I feel like birthed a legacy, and I feel like she saved her community, and she just persevered. And I just think that that's the story of Toledo.
Yeah.
We've got all these underground railroad that run through our city underground, and I see this community as a community that's never really turned its back on its community. And it's
Right.
like women like my mother-in-law, Robbie Tucker. I think she embodies everything Toledo, and she successfully raised her sons, and she's still doing things to impact her community. I think it's the unsung stories of women like her that make our city great, because those are the women who are birthing these legacies and raising these children.
Yeah.
You yourself being one of them, who are carrying the torch and just doing something transformational in our community. That is why the city is the way that it is and continues to grow.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer. And we want to thank you so much for sharing all of your Toledo favorites with us. It's so nice to hear what makes Toledo so special to you and impactful to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Toledo According to podcast. Make sure to check out Toledo City Paper in print and online, as well as all of the publications under Adams Street Publishing, including Mature Living, Toledo Area Parent, Ann Arbor Family, Current, and Findlay Living. Find us on social media or connect with us if you have any story ideas to share.